in this sacred place to do this sacred work. This work of returning and remembering those who God has shared with us and giving thanks for their lives. And so as we stand here right now in this sacred, beautiful place where life is created, where life is lived, and where life ends, we recognize what God has done and moves through us. And so I pour this out for those ancestors who have gone on before us, those who have shared their lives and done the work that allowed us to continue to have life within this. And so I pour and I say, for Harriet Tubman, Ashe. Queen Mother Brunson, Ashe. John Lewis, Ashe. C.T. Vivian, Ashe. Ahmaud Arbery, Ashe. George Floyd, Ashe. Phineas Shakur, Ashe. Breonna Taylor, Ashe. Ashe. Malcolm X, Ashe. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., Ashe. Nat Turner, Ashe. Trayvon Martin, Ashe. Mike Brown, Ashe. Muhammad Ali, Ashe. Sandra Bland, Ashe. Eric Gardner, Ashe. Jacquees Clemens, Ashe. Daniel Hambridge.
So we pronounce it Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. I'm gonna call out Philip Patton Jr. Ashe. Constance Patton and Peggy. Ashe. Tupac Shakur. Ashe.
Mine is a package deal. Samari and Samari Breeze Daniel, Samari and Samai Rain Daniel, also known as Nika Battle Jr. and Nika Battle Jr.
And for all our loved ones that we done named,
We ain't forgot about y'all.
Ashe.
A little liquor.
We return to the one who gives us all with honor and in love of all that God has done and celebrating all that will come because of those who pour into us. Ashe. Ashe.
A little liquor.
It is done.
A creative heart, obsessed with satisfying this dormant and uncaring society. You have given them the stars. The stars at night, and you have given them bountiful bouquets of sunflowers. present it so proudly. This world could not accept your masterpieces from the heart. So on that starry night, you gave to us, and you took away from us the one thing, the one thing, the one thing we never acknowledged. Your
Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Daly. I am the founder and director of the Big Blue Opera Initiatives of Tennessee State and the curator of the Tupac Song Project. We are so excited that you all have been able to join us this afternoon as we discuss the legacy of Tupac and also talk about this project that we have developed in his name and in his honor, and also that is very impactful and wonderful for our communities as a whole. So the Tupac Song Project centers the poetry of the legendary and influential artist Tupac Shakur and pairs it with music in the classical aesthetic. Revered for his role in hip hop, Shakur was a brilliant and trained, well-rounded artist. And this project seeks to shine a light on his full creative genius. So it is, and to me, when we started this, I said that it is imperative that we at an HBCU at Tennessee State University and the Black creative community lead an artistic conversation on how the Negro spiritual and hip hop are inextricably connected. Harry T. Burleigh, the father of the concert spiritual, is an elder of arguably hip hop's most dominant figure, Tupac Shakur. Furthermore, we must carry on the legacy of advocacy, creative equity, and groundbreaking, compelling artistry that both men have left with us. Tupac belongs in the concert halls, and Burleigh belongs in the hood too. And so that was what our goal was in doing this project, is to sort of blur the lines of what belongs where and who belongs where. That we, as hip hop artists, as a Black community, have the agency to create and be wherever we want, and also that others can join with us and come into our communities, but we will hold them accountable as well, right? So we're just trying to work on, doing some things and developing, this project further and further. So I'm going to ask for our panelists, who are all wonderful and esteemed folks, to introduce themselves, starting with Sari Rice.
Hi. So I'm the artistic director of Alias Chamber Ensemble, and it's been a running classical music chamber group in Nashville for almost 20 years. And I'm also a musician as well, play the cello, and big in the studio recording scene here, and play with the Nashville Symphony, Nashville Opera, Nashville Ballet, all the good stuff.
gentlemen, my name is Colin Lett. I am the conductor of the Selma High School Choir in Selma, Alabama. I'm a Baptist minister. I'm also a graduate of Morgan State University and Virginia Union University. And I'm one of the commissioned composers for this Tupac project. I have music published at GIA Publications and Walton Music.
All right. I am Big Fella. I'm down here in Nashville. Felavision is my company, and under that, we do a couple festivals. One of them being the Tupac Fan Festival. We started 4 years ago, and I think this is just really cool, and it's just an honor to be a part of it and be able to pull these people together and do something significant. And like you say, blurring those lines, like who belongs where and what belongs where, and you know, who is who on planet Earth, and what the music really is, and the words, what they really mean.
Well, my name is Hambino Godbody. I'm the outreach coordinator for Gideon's Arm and Violence Interruption Program. And I'm a follower of Tupac Shakur. And when I say follow Tupac Shakur, I mean that in the sense of like how Christians follow Jesus Christ.
My name is Rich Nice. I am a first generation hip hop fan, second generation hip hop artist, first rapper signed to Motown in my younger years. I'm also the associate director of the Hip Hop Education Center, which directly creates curriculum and programming for the Universal Hip Hop Museum. Also a Columbia University Fellowship and co-founder of Trackmasters Entertainment, which at one time would produce the Changes remix for Tupac Shakur that everyone has heard many, many times. And it is honor and fantastic to be here with all of you on this day. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much for joining us and joining in this moment, especially when we're doing this, we are recording this on the 24th anniversary of Tupac Shakur's passing. And so we, say ashe, and we pour a little liquor, and we give libations also to him and to others who have gone on and who are now with the ancestors. And so, Rich, I have to ask, as someone who knew Tupac well during his lifetime, feel free to speak on, his diverse work and personage as you knew him.
Well, first, let me say, I'm not a person that likes to celebrate the death of people. I like to celebrate their life and their messages. And so as we are here today, I'd like just to reiterate that to the world, that we should celebrate the people that we honor and love every day and throughout the memory of them, so that they can always be present with us. Pac was a person who, to put it simple, he evolved constantly and was not afraid to evolve. One thing about hip hop is people find a comfortable sweet zone and they kind of stay there, and like that's their style and that's their zone, and they don't want to stay from there. They don't want to move from there because that's what's working. And Pac was a person who believed in evolving, and so his musical taste was everything from opera to bhangra. His musical style was, if you listen to his music, it was consistently featuring multiple things, and it's just kind of interesting to watch the world embrace him and all of his complexities as a human.
Thank you for that. And thank you also for centering what we really are doing. We're not, the goal of this is definitely not to celebrate their death, but to remember who they are and remember what they mean to us every single day. And I hope that this project in some way is a part of that legacy and that lineage. So thank you for those words. So Sari and Colin to you first, and then Sari. As artists in the conventional classical music, how did you approach this music? How did you approach this venture and performing and creating this?
Well, as a person who grew up as a fan of Tupac, just as a fan of Tupac, I tried to approach this classical music assignment with the heartbeat of we as a people. We have our own classical music, and it's not necessarily what you might hear from Handel and all of those guys, but we as Black people have jazz. We have our own classical idiom, and easily meld with hip hop. Social justice, that heart of hip hop, as I write, the composition based poetry.
Yeah, I'm speaking more again on the musical aspect here. Just to say that, music is such a universal language, it's such a connector. So, whether Tupac created his music and poems through the hip hop genre, or, Colin, interpreting, composing his poems into song and beautiful melodies through the classical genre, it's still, I think, as meaningful, as powerful, and gets the message across. So, and that's kind of what Alias Chamber Ensemble tries to, that's one of their goals, is to always create, innovative programming with just the highest artistic standard. And so we're just thrilled to be a part of this project.
So to everyone, Tupac Shakur is such a prolific and important figure. And over the years, there have been a number of projects based on his artistry and life. And you all have had an opportunity to check out what we have done and what we're putting together and know a little bit about it. So what are your impressions of this particular project as you have seen it and experienced it?
Well, I really like this project. I like the fact that it's taking something that's typically not in a space and putting it in that space and letting it stand up and see how it stands up in that world. And I just think it's pretty amazing that we could really get like put it in proper context. Y'all took the poems and added the different musical backing behind it that take the humanity factor out of it and let it stand up for what it is, and listen to it like that, and it's able to be appreciated. It's cool to put it in a different space where people may not typically go down that road, and to watch them go down that road and understand where it fits even in their world, So I think it's really cool, man. Right now, just blend them worlds, man, and see what really stands up. Everything is in proper context, and you just see what it is. It is what it is. And appreciate what y'all doing, man. I really love it.
Well, with me, I just feel like anything the brother Tupac is attached to is a powerful situation. But like my answer would be a question like, I would want to know, like, what's the reason or why are y'all really doing this? Like, I would really like to know that, because like I'm connected to Tupac in a way. Like, I don't idolize no man at all. You know what I mean? At all. Not even Tupac himself, but I just know what Tupac is to me. And I just, I know he an emissary. I know he was one who was sent on a mission, because I'm already understanding his foundation, meaning the knowledge that he was raised up on, being that his people was connected to the Black Panther Party and everything that was connected to. And I understand, like, he didn't even have a background like me. Like, I grew up, I was robbing, I've been locked up for murder, drugs, guns, everything. And I know Tupac didn't have that background, but he took on that background in order to identify with us. So, like, I really want to know, like, why, what make y'all really want to do this? Because they didn't know who Jesus Christ was till like 100 years after he was dead. Tupac ain't been dead number 24 years, and he already in classicals.
And I'm going to answer that. Thank you, Richard. If you don't mind, I want to respond to that for sure, because I think that's important to also contextualize. Why Tupac? To me, and again, it's what Colin had said. I'm somebody who grew up listening to Tupac Shakur, as well as the other rappers. And I'm also somebody like him who came through through a really rich community that showed and acknowledged who we were. Also coming from a performing arts high school. And so I know I personally identify with him in many ways. What he represents personally for me is, as Rich was talking about, that constant evolving, that constant, hold on, Oh, she's coming in. That constant evolving, that constant growing, that constant complexity, and like living and staying in that complexity as a human being and as a Black man to be able to do every and anything that you want. So he can be as woke as now we're saying now, he can be as woke as everybody is. He can be as hood as he wants to be. He can be as intellectual as he wants to be. That's the power of agency. That's the power of knowing who you fully are. And so when we take the poems, and the poems speak of of pain, of love, of life, of victory, of beauty, that's everything that we see around us. I think that he represents for our young people that are coming next, not necessarily like and in a way, actually, I'll take it back. I was going to say something else, but like there is a deity factor to him because he is so real, and he was always, and from what I observed, always honest about the journey. Also, again, not having fear. Like I in every interview I watch, in every photo, like even if there was, we don't see it. We see a strong minded person who is working out everything that he wants to deal with. And I think that when we pull these poems together and put them in this context, we are able to show another side of him that I hope that he would be proud of. As Rich had also said, he liked opera. He went to a performing arts high school. He was around all of these artists and this whole community that gave him the freedom to try and do everything. And so we want to be able to say to our young people and to our communities as a whole that we don't have to just do it. Excellence and humanity and growth doesn't look like one thing. It doesn't look like being, yes, Colin is a Baptist minister and he's suited and booted. That's cool. But excellence is also Hambino. Excellence is also Tupac. That's why I did want to have it at the Harry T. Burley Spiritual Festival, because Harry T. Burley, yes, creates and constructs the concert spiritual as we know it. But Tupac Shakur changes the game too. Hip hop is in direct line to the Negro spiritual because it is all our creative expression. And so it is also very key that we as Black artists, and even as Black men and Black creative artists, are able to say, no, he's our brother. Harry T. Burley is our brother, is our Jegna, is our mentor, is our ancestor, is our elder. Tupac Shakur is also all of those same things. We're going to, do everything that we can to show our communities, because it's really not for anybody else, just so we're very clear. This really is not for other people. This is for us. This is for our community. And if others are joining in, understand that this is how we run the show. We are going to run this, and we're going to show that we are just as capable of creating, of having all of the freedom and the humanity that we want to have.
Well,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Rich.
Hip hop has invented nothing, but we have reinvented everything. And so this project to me is an extension of that hip hop reinvention in using who I call the Bob Dylan of hip hop. If you look at Bob Dylan's career and just the time where he's talking about peace and revolution to every other rock and roller that they respected, any rock and roller planet Earth will say Bob Dylan. Tupac is that individual that any hip hop person, planet Earth, young, old, doesn't matter. They will say Tupac's name. And that's part of that reinvention. And so what you do in this project, I think is spot on, because it doesn't matter what medium hip hop goes into. Once hip hop is touching it, we kind of pull it into the bosom. So this is something that it might not be expected. Someone might say, well, like the brother said, why? Why would you do this? And it's because that constant reinvention has to keep happening over and over so that the tentacles of hip hop are across the planet, no matter what you look at or listen to. And it will affect You know, these are his words. He said, I might not change the world, but I'll be the voice that inspires the mind to change the world. And so that's what this is all about. This is about being able to digest something and say, you know what, this would sound, what if I just took this and played it with them? Wow. And that is, in essence, hip hop.
Ooh, okay. I'm going back to church again. I'm full. Aisha, so grateful that you were able to join us.
Hello.
I'm happy to
Hello.
be here.
Thank you so much. What would be great is if I could get a statement. I'm going to ask a question as someone, again, who is connected to Pac, who is a family member. Just wanting to know, like, as someone who knew Tupac well during his lifetime, just feel free to speak on his diverse work, but also him as a person, and the Tupac Amaru Shakur that you knew.
Wow, that could be loaded. But what I will say is that he was one of the best people to ever live. And yes, I am biased, but that's okay. And I feel like now, especially, everything that he said, you know, definitely people are listening to, because he spoke about a lot of things that we're experiencing now in this lifetime. And that just, it proves the way we were raised was right, which we always knew that, but, you know, that our parents were doing something right. And although people didn't understand it at the time, it is now proving to be true. If you think about it now in this time, everybody wants to know what it was like growing up the way we did. Everybody is clamoring for, you know, the information that we have, and the people that we know. They want to know the stories. They want to know what they did. They are enamored by, you know, movement, so to speak, positive, you know, movement. Coming up as a child of the Black nationalist movement, you know, people didn't understand. They didn't understand our names. They made fun of our names. They made fun of the way we dressed. They made fun of, you know, the way we talked. You know, we grew up speaking Swahili as it was just natural, you know. And I do it now, and, you know, people are open. Africa now is a place that everybody wants to go to if they haven't been. And when we used to say that, people used to laugh. You know, it's like, what do you mean going back to Africa? You know, it's things like that. You know, and in my 53 years now, I feel like it's taken 50 years for people to understand the beauty of what that is. I mean, that's okay. You know, I wish Pac could be here to see it. And he lives on through us, you know, and we keep his spirit alive. But just in regards to who he was definitely, and I will not say ahead of his time, but he just spoke, you know, truth to what everybody needed to know and what people should want to know and fight for. So, you know, I'm happy to be a part of anything that involves him that is positive, and, you know, just keeping his spirit alive, because he definitely was the best to ever do it, in my opinion.
Thank you for that. And I know we're recording and all, but I gotta say something. What you were saying, it was interesting. Bishop Yvette Flunder, who is major bishop and woman theologian, very progressive, shamed and a loving woman, who also was with Walter Hawkins back in the day, sang some of the favorites. She came and spoke in Nashville a couple of years back at American Baptist College, and there's actually a lot of pushback from some of those people from the Baptist and the church community about her being at American Baptist College to speak. But the presidents and the administration said that this woman is one of the most brilliant minds, and our students and our community deserves to hear her. And one of the things why I bring that up is because she said something in that, you know, she said, when we pick up, particularly for Christians, when they pick up the Bible, and it's like, okay, this is it. This is the final source, right? And everybody believes that whatever their holy book is the final source. And she said, you know, but God is still speaking. And she said Dr. King's letter from a Birmingham jail should be canonized. And she went on to speak about, the text of William Lloyd Garrison and Frederick Douglass. And when Aisha was speaking, it made me think like Tupac's work should be canonized. It's just as sacred. It is just as sacred and just as real because it challenges us to do better, to think further, to develop ourselves in our full knowledge and our full humanity. And so I just wanted to bring that into it because I was like, yeah, like this. And I think that part of what this project is about exploring what belongs in the canon. We're seeing now with classical music, there's the Black woman composer Florence Price, who did not get her due justice during her lifetime. And we're just now, digging into her brilliance. Why do we do that, right? People who challenge us, we don't get it during their lifetimes. And so I was quite young when we lost Tupac Shakur. But he made such an impression on me. So I know if he made that impression on me, and I'm a little suburban boy who sings opera, what kind of impression does he make on the rest of our community and on other people? And so what Aisha you were also saying about how, now we're listening, now people want to be engaged, so we need to speak. And I do believe that, I hope that this project is speaking, and it's providing that in some way. So thank you for that.
Hey, before we continue, can I just say one more thing? The reason that I asked, why are y'all doing this in Tupac's name is because, to me, Tupac is the most powerful person that ever walked the face of this earth. You know what I mean? And I got introduced to Tupac differently because, I listened to his music and I was on his music, but I was lost at the time. I was listening to his music, and when I went to the federal penitentiary, I was blessed to be in a cell with a Afghan brother, 100%. He from Afghanistan, 100% Afghan. And this brother told me that Tupac was God, right? So at the time I was lost, had a Christian mindset, and I was like, Jesus, God. But I'm gonna make a long story short because it's too long for the Zoom call. So anyway, this Afghan had every Tupac lyric laminated in a folder. And how people study the Quran and the Bible, which he studied the Quran and the Bible also, he studied the lyrics of Tupac and broke down scripture to me using Tupac words. So that's the reason that I was asking, what do you think about Tupac or why you doing it? Because I feel like, at the time Tupac was walking the face of this earth, it was like having Jesus here, but people be looking a certain kind of way. And when they do stuff like that, they miss their visitation. And so that was kind of like the reason I was asking, because hey, his lyrics do something different to me.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. One thing I wanted to say, and actually, I know we're supposed to be going somewhere else, but this is getting really, really good. And I definitely would love for Colin, because he actually is a minister, to chime in on this as well. But universal truth is universal truth. Tupac spoke universal truth. He's a part of that lineage. So yes, I may identify as a Christian, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I cannot hear the truth coming from Tupac Shakur. Just as we should not absolve the truth coming from any other faith tradition, right? I believe if it is true, and it actually scripture does speak about it, like whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, speak on those things. And so he does speak to that. And it's also about sort of expanding the ideas of humanity, and again, who it comes like, because I think also if we do a sort of theological text of it, how Western religion has sculpted Christ to be, and how we are rediscovering Christ now and looking at the radical nature of it. Tupac is also in that same lineage. We continue to need, as the hymn says, voices that speak from eternity. We continue to need those people to speak to us, to challenge us. And I'm sure, I know that there are a number of voices that are coming up as well in that same lineage that goes back to Moses, to Jesus, to as some would say, Baha'u'llah, to oh my goodness, I'm losing my mind. Muhammad, on to Buddha. Like there are continued, because if you're speaking truth, no matter which one you necessarily ascribe to, truth is truth. Like what NDRE said, either it is or it is, or either it is or it isn't. The truth, it needs no proof. And so that's just kind of my thoughts on that. And then I'm gonna shift to the Colin now. I think we're gonna keep going. I'm sorry.
And it's, you know, like I said, I'm a Baptist minister, but my thinking is we have to remember that Jesus was liberator. That's what he came to liberate, and then follow behind him, you know, Holy Spirit. When the Holy Spirit is talking about, is the same thing that we look at when we talk about Tupac music. We talking about a brother who was speaking truth to power, as Aisha said, and he was talking about police brutality. This is the main issue that we're talking about here in 2020. He was a prophetic voice. He was a voice of truth to power, for the least of, you know, if we, you know, kind of juxtapose what he was talking about to Christianity. So it's not necessarily that I'm, you know, deify Tupac, but when I'm preaching a sermon and I'm preaching against some of these powers and principalities that we deal with in Christian faith, one of those voices that we have to you know, lean towards in culture is Tupac.
Oh, especially when Jesus said, "Greater works you shall do than me."
That's it. Sorry. Colin to tell you, I speak that all the time. I actually say that all the time because that we sit up here and think, oh, well, this is it. No, greater. We're gonna do more. Sorry, I got excited. Because again, truth is truth. Truth is marching on. Okay, I'm stopping.
Can I say something real quick, Patrick?
Please do.
Okay, I think it's a context thing, right? I think it's a, Malcolm X said, like, we don't know who we are, where we are, who we really are, what we really doing. We living out of context, right? And I think Tupac allows us to put some things in proper context and see it in real life. Somebody told me that history is just us in different, history is just us in different clothes, you know? So if you take being a child of the Panthers came out of the Malcolm X, the movie Malcolm X. Malcolm X's father was a follower of Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was a child of Haile Selassie in Ethiopia. You know, Ethiopia, then you go back to Solomon. Inside that lineage, you got Jesus, you got all of it, David. And if you just look at, since the beginning of time, there's always been two opposing, yet kind of, what's the word? They run together, forces. You know, you got light and dark, evil, good, whatever. There's always been a spirit of overcoming and a spirit of oppression. You know what I'm saying? And overcoming oppression. It's the same thing since the beginning, you know? And all throughout time, there's always been that same spirit fighting the same good fight. You know what I'm saying? So what is that in proper context? And also, the past ain't nothing but a bunch of thoughts. All we have is right now. Even when Jesus and them was walking around with his homeboys, it was right now for them. You know, the kingdom was here. It was right now for them. It wasn't, there is no yesterday. It's all now. And that same spirit is always here. And what and who carries and embodies that spirit in each time period. And then you be able to get into proper context, like who is who on planet Earth in real life, like what is what and who is who. And I think Pac allowed us to be so polarizing and such a large figure, and even just for pop culture, you know what I'm saying? Just superstar outside of the education, outside of the knowledge, outside of what it come from. Once you pierce pop culture, then you can really take a look at it on the whole, you know? And I think that it just allows us to put a lot of things in proper context, especially looking back. Like Hambino said, they weren't really talking about Jesus, like they weren't telling them stories till 100 years later. you know, and then all the books that things that people wrote just around that time over a 300-year period end up being the gospel. You know what I'm saying? So what changes that from now? People who are around to witness things and wrote about it now, or just marked the signs of the time. She said not really ahead of the time, but like so on point with the time that is ultra relevant. But yeah, that's all, man. I just wanted to throw that.
Hey, no, you on point, because Tupac got a scripture that confirms what you're saying when he said, "We outlaws, mother, can't kill my pride." You know what I'm saying? Because outlaws is one who rebel against government. You know what I'm saying? When he say you can't kill my pride, you might think of pride as what a person had with themselves, but pride is a group of lions. A group of lions represent kings or jungles. So he let you know in that lyric right there that you can't kill me. You know what I'm saying? You can't kill nobody who's gonna rebel against a wicked system. You know what I mean? But anyway.
Bob Marley said the same thing, you know? Like, Bob Marley said it too. Like, I'm gonna be here forever.
Exactly.
Same spirit. Okay, get back to your thing.
I mean, I know this is great. I mean, that just means the voices and the prophets and the spirit is still speaking. So thank you. This is good. So as we come to a close, I'd love to hear from Rich and Aisha on the long-lasting legacy of Tupac Shakur. What are some things that you want folks to know about him? But also, what are some things that are even developing? You know, especially in 2021 will be his 50th birthday, and as we're recording this, this is founded by Afeni Shakur, the tree planting, the annual tree planting that happens to remember Pac as well as others who have joined the ancestors. So, you know, what can we expect and from going forward?
Well, let me say this. I think one thing that people have to always remember is that Pac's music and his life, even all of his creation, is the Black experience. When you listen to what he's created, he's giving you the Black experience in 360-degree completion, from good, bad, and different, from a human perspective. If you look at the earliest found human life form is a female, Lucy. Everything after that is the Black experience, and things add on. And so Tupac's life is an expression of the Black experience. And so as we move forward, I mean, there's songs that you can go and listen to right now that you'll go, man, I missed that the first time. How did I get past me? And I think moving forward, those are the things that I think are important is to rediscover. You know, it's not always new invention. You know, like the wheel is the wheel. The wheel is older than all of us on this Zoom put together, but the wheel is still the wheel, and it still rolls the same way. You might add rubber to it, you might slim it out, you might make it tubeless, whatever you do, but the wheel is the wheel. And I think the Black experience is the Black experience, and Pac represented it very well. From a little boy till a grown man, and even in his afterlife of us here talking about it, we're still talking about Tupac's perspective of the Black experience. And I think as we move forward, that's something to remember. So coming up on his birthday next year, there's going to be a lot of great reveals. Some of them I'm not sure if I'm even at liberty to say, so I'm going to leave that for Aisha. But for me, you know, it was my brother. You know, he is my brother, and we had a great time running through the streets of Los Angeles and running through the streets of Harlem, and the conversations were always authentic. You know, I always got the same Pac, no matter where I saw him, no matter what point of his life, he was always the same Pac for me, the same Pac. It was always the same jokes, the same vibe. And in this business, it's very difficult to maintain your authenticity. Your authenticity is one of the first things you lose in the music business. And Pac never lost his authenticity.
That was beautiful, Rich.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We know he loved you. So what's happening? Well, so I also sit on the board of the Tupac Amaru Shakur Foundation. So today there, are different plantings happening in a few cities. I spoke to my cousin Setua earlier today. So it's always, she's doing really well today to me. And I feel, I'm really happy about that. This is also the birthday of our uncle G, Geronimo G. Jaga, who also is Pac's godfather. And he, left in 2011. So they're probably up there having a party together with my mother, Anna Faney, they all up there, raising hell like they did on Earth. So in 2021, there is a lot that's going to be happening. One thing that I am contributing to is a book that I have entitled A Light on a Hill. And it was interesting how I came up with that title, because I really didn't come up with the title. My brother Chaka Zulu did, when we were talking about what I should call this book. So we were not only, the child of Black Panthers, with our parents being Black Panthers, but we were also children and citizens of the Republic of New Africa. So there's a New African creed. And one of the tenets is knowing that I'm a light set on a hill, a true representative of what we're building. So when I was talking to Chaka about what the title should be, he said, a light on a hill. He was like, he's a light on a hill. And I was like, you know what? I like it. It's great. It fits. So that's how that came up. So the thought I had with the book, and all the proceeds are going to go to the foundation, is that I wanted people to share stories, those who knew him and those who didn't know him. If you knew him and you had a story to share, I want you to share that story. If you didn't know him and he impacted your life, I want you to tell how he impacted your life. So that's what we're doing. So we're interviewing, people. We're still setting up interviews and stuff like that. It's a process. And people are going to share their story of how he impacted them. So that's one way that, I thought that I could, contribute to what would be his 50th birthday, and then also the 25th anniversary of his passing. We're doing a lot of planning, foundation side. So, you'll be hearing more about that, but he never dies. Pac lives forever. And, it's been great for me to meet a lot of young people now who are impacted, who love him, who feel like, he spoke the truth, and they're still willing to do that. And so I'm really excited about this next generation and the people that he continues to impact. Along with his family, we still love him, and, all of those who he ran around with. And, we're just here making sure that we keep his legacy alive in his name, because people, I think they shy away from giving him the recognition that he deserves. And I don't know why that is. I think people are afraid of the power. And, we just never let that, I never let that be. I'm always saying his name wherever I am, and being in this business 30 years this year professionally, everybody who knows me knows. There was a long time that I didn't really talk about Pac. And I think it was the pain of, how he left and what happened, and me being around, for certain things. Like I was in New York when he got shot at Quad. We had just left court that day. He wasn't going to Quad, and then I get a call and he was there. He was shot, go to the hospital. So, it's just been a lot, and as a big cousin, I was, kind of that voice, of reason to him, or that voice that would say, maybe do this, don't do that. So, it was a lot of pain, but I'm working through it now. So, I have a job to do, and it's my responsibility to make sure everybody knows who he is, how important he is, and to make sure that his impact is felt always.
Thank you so much for that, Aisha. Thank you to everyone, to Rich Nice, Big Fella, Hambino Godbody, Sari Rice, Colin Lett. Also, shout out to the National Museum of African American Music. Shout out to Home in Nashville, helping our music evolve. Tennessee State University, the Big Blue Opera Initiatives at Tennessee State University. Alias Chamber Ensemble. Fellovision, Gideon's Army. Thank you for this moment. Thank you all. And we hope that in some way, Music City can be a part of, the work to continue Pac's legacy, to continue that name, and how we can all be and see ourselves even as that light on the hill that he is, an example for us. Thank you all.